Hi, juniors. This is your counselor, Miss Whitley. This presentation is about building your college list. Hopefully, by the end of this presentation, you will have a much better understanding about how to build a solid list that will work for you and your interests and your goals, as well as several additional resources to support you in creating a good college list as you transition in the summer to your senior year. So let's get started. So what is a college list? You have started to build a college list this year in your RTW classes. And a college list is basically a list of all the schools that you plan to apply to next year. You and I and the RTC team will work together to refine your college list over the summer and in the fall. And usually your list will have somewhere between 8 and 10 colleges. Remember, even if you are not planning on going to college next year, let's say you are transitioning into the military or you're going direct into the workforce or some other path of success, you still have to apply to college as part of your uplift graduation requirement. So everyone will still participate and create a list, but it might look different for different students depending upon what your next steps are going to be. So here are some of the things that matter as you find the right colleges to apply to. Money, of course, is one of the biggest things that um, will determine the schools on your list, your test scores, your GPA, how far the school is from home, the programs that are offered, the majors there, and other factors will help determine the schools that are going to be a good fit for you. So money absolutely matters. It's one of the biggest concerns that students and families have. However, I often talk to students about don't be afraid of the sticker price. Sometimes a school may initially seem like it costs thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, but after you factor in the financial aid that you're eligible for and scholarships and grants, it can actually be much cheaper than a school that may start off looking as if it's going to be the better option. So it's always good to learn a lot about a school and the amount of financial aid that they typically offer before you make a decision to not apply. So, how do you know which schools are affordable? So, when you are researching your schools, one of the most important things to look for is the percent need met. And basically, the higher the percentage that you see for a school, the more financial aid they'll be able to provide. So here's a website you can go to, collegedata.com, and you can search for different schools and you can look at different statistics about that school. And if you click on the Money Matters tab and go down to financial aid, you can see percent need met. Also, basically, if you just Google a school and type in percent need met, you can see uh, what percentage that particular school will be able to meet. So what do these numbers even mean? So when you file your FAFSA in the fall, in October, based on your family's income, you will get a number that is based on a formula that the government uses to determine an estimate of what they think you'll be able to afford each year. So basically, when your parents file their taxes and we use that information to complete the FAFSA, you'll get a number that's called your EFC. And again, it's just an estimate to kind of give schools an idea of how much financial aid they will need to provide you. So let's say you end up with an EFC of $50 because the lowest you can have is a zero and it can go all the way up to $999,000, believe it or not. But let's say you have an EFC of 50. Basically, that says that the government estimates that your family can pay $50 per year for you to go to college. So let's take a look at that with percent need met. So again, percent need met is the percentage of the total cost of college that a school can help with. So if you have an EFC of $50, and if the college is 100% need met, that means that whatever amount is left over, they will be able to meet the rest of that need 100%. So let's pretend like a school costs $1,000 a year. You're right. In a perfect world, we wish. But let's say it does cost $1,000 per year, and your estimated family contribution is $50 from your FAFSA. That's the number in green. And if a school is 100% need met, you subtract that amount that the government believes your family can contribute, and that leaves $950 of need that you have. Well, remember, if a school is 100% need met, that means they will pay the $950. So that's need met. Remember, the higher percentage that a school is, the more financial aid they can provide you. So now we're going to talk about making a college list with your numbers. So what are your numbers? Your GPA, your weighted or unweighted, and your ACT score or PSAT score or SAT score. In most cases, we're going to be looking at your ACT score because at this point, that would be the test that most of you have already taken and have a score. So at Uplift, we create college lists with 3 categories of colleges. And you've heard this before, and you'll hear it over and over and over again. Reach schools, target schools, and safety schools. So what do these mean? Well, a reach school is a college where your numbers, your test score and your GPA are slightly below what their average admission rates are. I like to think of a reach as, let's say you're looking in your cabinets or your pantry or something on a top shelf, and you're standing up on your tippy toes just out of reach and you're trying to get to it. That visual helps me understand what a reach school is. A target school is one where your numbers, your test scores, and your ACT are right on target with their average admission rate. If you look at the picture here, it's kind of like a perfect fit, if you will, like a puzzle piece, and they go together because they are a match. And then we have safeties. So here I like to think about a safety net, kind of like if you fall off the trapeze and you fall into a net, you're pretty much guaranteed to be caught. And that's similar to what a safety school is. It's a college where your numbers, your test scores, and your GPA are slightly above their admission rates, which increases your chances of getting in. It's almost a guarantee. And so you want to make sure you have a combination of target, safety, and reach schools on your list to give yourself a diverse group of options in order for you to have some really good choices when you make your decision next spring. So let's do a quick check for understanding. So let's take a look at SMU. So their average ACT score is a 30 and their average GPA is a 3.64. So if student A is applying to SMU and they have a 30 and a 3.6, would SMU be considered a target, safety, or reach for them? SMU is going to be a target because, again, think about that puzzle piece. Their numbers match, they fit with what SMU's average admission rates are. Let's look at Texas State. So Texas State's average scores are ACT of 23 and a GPA of 3.2. So let's look at student B who is applying here. Student B has a 20 ACT and a 3.1 GPA. So would Texas State be a target, safety, or reach? So because student B has a lower test score and a lower GPA, slightly lower, it's a few points off, we're going to consider this one to be a reach. It's a little bit out of their reach, but it would still be a good idea for them to apply here. Finally, let's take a look at Midwestern State. Midwestern State's average test score is a 21 and their average GPA is a 2.7. So student C has a 23 and a GPA of a 3.2. So would Midwestern State be a target, safety, or reach for them? Well, their profile, their numbers are higher than Midwestern State. So then that would be a safety school. It'd be safe for them to apply there, a good option for them to have. And another thing to consider too is typically with your safety schools, when your profile is higher, you're likely to get more financial aid because you're a more competitive applicant for that particular program. So that's also something to consider as a good reason to apply to safety schools as well. Another thing you want to think about is schools that automatically admit. So if you, in the state of Texas, if you're in the top 10% of the class, there are several public schools that will automatically admit you. Also, if you're in the top 25%, top 15%, and you have certain combinations of test scores, then you can also get automatic admission to certain schools. So as you're doing your research, just make sure that when you look at some of the schools' admission scales and their admissions charts, see where you fall, where you rank, and where your test scores fall and your GPA, because it's always good to apply to schools too where you're automatically admitted. Those can typically be considered as safety schools because you're guaranteed to get admission. So a tool to help you find the appropriate match and fit is going to be Naviance. Naviance is going to become your best friend moving into next year. You're going to be using it quite often, and it's a great resource for researching schools and scholarships and other features as well. So if you log into Naviance and you type in a college name and you click on admissions, you can scroll down to a scattergram plot, which will help you see where you would fall in comparison to other students who are accepted. So it gives you a different type of visual aid to see how great your chances are and whether or not a school is going to be a target, safety, or reach. Also, make sure when you do this that you change the data to ACT unless you've already taken the SAT, which most of you will not have at this point. So change the data to ACT and you can see where you fall to, again, have another resource to help you figure out which schools would be considered target, safeties, and reaches. A few other resources that are really helpful, you can use College Board, college data. You can go to university websites to help find schools to add to your list. As I just mentioned, Naviance is a great resource. Of course, the RTC team is a fantastic resource to help support you. Do not just Google and enter the first thing that pops up. Spend some time truly researching and investing in finding the right schools for you. You have lots of time to do this, so make sure you make it count and are creating a really quality list that we can take a look at and finalize so that we can, again, support you in the best possible way to reach your goals. So what if your numbers don't measure up? You know, as you're building your college list, there are inevitably going to be some schools that you're going to want to apply to and they're out of your profile, or you just didn't quite meet the automatic admission, or you are, slightly out of what their typical admission standards are. So what would happen is if it's a school that you're really interested in, you'll go through a holistic review process. And that means that they're going to be looking at the big picture, so many other things about you that make you such a quality applicant, right? And show off who you really are and your skill set and all the cool things that make you you. So that's why it's important to write a really solid personal statement, which you are working on finalizing now. It's important to do well in your classes and have good relationships with your teachers and your counselors to get really strong letters of recommendation because they do matter. It's important to build relationships with different universities and start to get to know college reps at college fairs and when they come visit our campus once we get back into school. At this point, since you can't do college visits, it's a good idea to set up virtual visits because things are still happening for you to be able to connect with colleges right now, even in these times. And so I also will be sharing some information with you about some virtual visits and some virtual admissions reps having conversations with you too, so that you can, even in this space, have conversations and get to know uh, different colleges and the reps that work there so that we can really hit the ground running in the fall to support you through your college application process. And of course, your story matters. So who are you, who you are, and the things you've experienced, your community service, your upbringing, your identity, your values, all of these things matter as part of a holistic review process. So even if the numbers don't match, and even if a school is even further out of your reach, or you just quite didn't hit the numbers, it's still not a final no on a school. So many other things matter, and you can get admitted possibly by looking at a whole variety of other factors. Okay, so your college list is going to be due on April 24th. What you're going to do is you're going to make a Google slide presentation that lists your 10 options and what it is that you like about them. So this might include the colleges you'd like to apply to based on your ACT score and GPA. If you have some military options or work options, if those are on your radar. But for the purpose of this, we're mostly going to focus on a list of 10 colleges. And you're also going to add these colleges to your colleges I'm thinking about list on Naviance, which I'll talk about in just a second. So adding colleges to your Naviance. This is one of the primary ways that you and I will communicate next year as we are submitting applications and going through the entire process. So Naviance is going to be the #1 communication platform that we use. So it's important that you begin to interact with it now and follow these steps. So what you'll do, you log into your Naviance, and when you find a college that you want to apply to, you are going to favorite them. So where the little heart picture is, you'll click that, and that adds them to your colleges I'm thinking about list. So this is where you're going to input your 10 colleges in Naviance. And remember, you're going to need to have 2 safeties, 5 targets, and 2 reach colleges on your colleges I'm thinking about list. So let me go back real quick. So your Google Slides presentation is going to have your 10 colleges and why you like them or why you think they would be good fits for you. And you're going to turn that into Google Classroom, further instructions to be provided. And you're also going to add those 10 colleges to Naviance. So you're going to put them in 2 places, on a Google slide presentation, which you'll submit to Google Classroom. And you're also going to go to Naviance and favorite those same 10 colleges so that we can have them referenced in 2 places. Again, this list is very important and this process is very important. So you want to invest lots of time and do really good research and take advantage of the resources that you have in order to create a solid list, because this is the list that you're going to start with at the beginning of senior year as we're working together. And from this, we'll finalize a list and you're going to decide which colleges you're actually going to apply to. Once we come back in the fall, things are going to go really fast. You'll have all the work for your classes. You'll have, community service. You'll have your CAS project. You'll have your extracurricular activities. You'll have jobs. There'll be a lot of things going on. So it's important to invest in this now so that it's ready to go in the fall and it's one less thing that you have to focus on doing. The bottom line is if you don't put effort into the list is just not going to reflect your goals and you'll have wasted quite a bit of time. So before I go, don't forget your list must include 2 safeties, 5 targets, and 2 reach schools. Now I know this only adds up to the number 9, so you can include an additional school, but just make sure you have 2 safeties, 5 targets, and 2 reaches at least. You're going to, again, turn this in on a Google slide with the 10 schools and why you think they are a good fit. And you're also going to put this list into Naviance. Okay, so I hope that this presentation was helpful. If you want to replay it again, to go back through some of the examples or some of the resources, feel free to do that. And of course, along with this presentation, will be additional resources you can use and reference in Google Classroom. Good luck, and please reach out if you need additional support or have any questions or concerns. Thank you so much for participating. Have a great day.